In this video, I'm going to show you guys one way that I'm pretty sure you can run code from the workshop if you are having trouble installing a local version of R and or RStudio. I know some people have limited access to download things onto their computer. I've talked to a few people who are running into problems with needing administrative privileges in order to get R installed on their computer. That was not my experience, and I'm not entirely sure why my experience is different from other people's experience. But if you're in that boat and you're having trouble getting R installed on your machine, I think this is an option that might work for you. The RStudio folks have a cloud version of R that you can sign up for, and you can run RStudio and R in the cloud. And the just basic, I guess, account here is free. So I have a free account with RStudio Cloud, and I'm going to walk through the process of grabbing one of these code files that I have for one of the lessons and running it in RStudio Cloud, and hopefully this will help bridge the gap for anybody that is having trouble kind of getting their own version of R installed before the workshop starts. So I'm going to start this thing off by, I also got some comments from a few folks who were not feeling really comfortable with going out to GitHub. So the way that I'm gonna do this is that I'm gonna go into this Google Drive folder that I set up, and I believe that I have given everybody viewer privileges on this particular folder, which is the materials folder. NOAA Social Science R Workshop Materials. And I took the 3 lessons that are kind of the foundational lessons that I've prepared here: data import, export, data manipulation, and data visualization. Let's go in here to data import, export, and I've got a subfolder called RCode, and I dropped some of the .rmd files. Those are R markdown files, so those are the files that contain a lot of the code that I'm going to be going over. And I'll just look at this first one. That this is the first set of code that I'm going to be walking through in the workshop. It's import spreadsheet data.rmd, and if you just download this right to your computer, you can pop back over here into RStudio, and what you can do in this RStudio Cloud is that in this lower right pane, right, you can upload a file to RStudio Cloud. So you hit that upload icon, and then you can browse your files for the one that you want to download, and then you can download that skill 1 import spreadsheet data.rmd. I've already downloaded it into this existing project in RStudio Cloud, so it's already in here. So in this RStudio Cloud environment, first of all, if you've got a brand new account, you're probably going to have to come over here and just start a new project. And once you start a new project, I'm unable to start a new project just because I've been using my RStudio Cloud account for some other teaching that I've been doing. So I've already populated it with the maximum number of projects that I'm allowed under the free tier. So I can't create a new project. So I'm going to use an existing project. But for you guys, you can start a new project. The experience will be very similar. I'm just going to work with an existing project that I have, and I've used that upload button to drop that RMD file from the Google Drive here, and it's right here. I can open it up, right, and I can start running this in the cloud version of RStudio, just like I would if I were using the RStudio desktop version. Okay, so there will be some package installing that you will probably have to do because each. All right, let's go ahead and run some code, and we'll walk through a couple things that you guys might encounter if you are using this cloud environment here. So I think I've talked about this a couple times, but repetition is probably good here in when you're using these .rmd documents. These are markdown documents. There's a couple different ways you can run code. One of them is just this little green play button inside the code chunk. Okay, so you can run code kind of chunk by chunk. All right, and the one thing I want to show you here is that because I've taken this file that's basically been drawn from an existing project, an existing RStudio project that I have, and I downloaded it and I moved it over here to this RStudio Cloud platform, and I'm opening it now in a project within RStudio Cloud. And so, right, the way that I have this code written, it's not going to execute here because, right, I have a layout to my RStudio projects that is not the same as the layout that is in this RStudio Cloud environment. So this is not insurmountable. There are a couple different ways I can deal with this. Right. Just noting again, the way that I like to lay out a lot of my projects is to try to keep them clean enough so that they're self-documenting, so that when you go to the landing page here for the repository, you're not confronted with a giant list of files, but you have things kind of neatly organized into directories. And this is not the way that everybody likes to organize their projects, and there are benefits and there are drawbacks to doing it this way. I think it's easier for the folks who are using this repository to be able to come in here, and the first thing they see is the README, and they can get a little bit of information about the project, and then they can start figuring out how they want to interact with it. But I have a data folder where all the data is kept. In this case, I also have a skills folder where what I'm calling the skills lessons are, and then the recipes folder where there's some larger code documents that are kind of weaving together a lot of different functionalities to make a product. And so what's happening over here in my cloud version of RStudio is that I don't have the same layout here. And so I'm asking it to read a CSV file that in my project layout exists in the data folder. This Spotify Top 50 CSV is in the data directory, but over here I don't have a data directory. So that's the only thing that's happening here. I can fix this in a couple different ways. I can add a data directory here by saying new folder, and then I can put this Spotify Top 50 CSV in that data directory. Or I can just change this, right? I can just change this to be where that file is located. And so I guess that's something that I need to mention, is that if you are going to be using this RStudio Cloud platform, it's a great way to get around issues with installing R. If your IT folks are giving you kind of a hassle about installing a version of R and you just can't get it done before the workshop starts tomorrow, you can use this workaround here. If you're using this workaround here, it may be a little bit cumbersome and a little bit inconvenient in that you might have to make some spot changes to some code, or you might have to move things around to kind of mirror the way that projects are laid out in my GitHub repositories. But at least it's a way that you can run code and practice doing the things that I plan on doing tomorrow if you can't interact with RStudio and GitHub kind of in the way that I've done it. So that'll work, right? You come down here, you'll see that there's probably another place where you may need to change some code, because we'll try to run this and the directory is not quite right, so we can just amend that line and run it. And so I admit that this probably won't be the most convenient way to do things, but it will be a way that is feasible if every other way is infeasible.